Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about happiness. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, in general, what do you think makes software developers happy at work? So, well, what I've found to make the thing that usually makes software developers happy is when they feel like they can make meaningful contributions to a project that they think is interesting to work on, and that they are doing so with people who care about the work that they do, to have some fire in their eyes and so forth. And then, of course, the people that they work with should ideally be fairly good at what they do, so they feel like they have something to learn or someone to sort of rubber duck with, and like you should work on basically the same sort of wavelength if that's possible. I've found this to be more important than salaries. I find it to be more important than practically anything else when I work with software developers. Uh, at least the good ones, because the good ones usually are trying to find somewhere to work where they get a chance to work with like-minded people and feel where they can actually, because software development is to a certain extent a creative field. It is something where you can't really treat it as like this autonomous type of like 9 to 5 thing where you're really only doing the same thing over and over and not really thinking about it. It's usually more complicated than that, where you're one part, I'm not saying an artist, but you're a creative person with technical skills. And you're, as an engineer or something like that, or an inventor, you're sort of trying to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And then you have software code as the tool to manifest that into reality, if that makes sense. And that creative process, as you can imagine, is something that is the main one of, at the very least, main drivers for the people who really care about the job that they do. And on average, that is the thing that is going to make them happy. Because I've never really found, I mean, if you have people who really only care about the money, they're the only thing that is practically going to make them happy on average is that they don't really have to do all that much in terms of work. And even being more focused on money than anything else really boils down to, yeah, sure, now you have all that extra money that you're making, but still, even the I've never worked with someone who didn't care about the other things that I just talked about. I've never met a person who doesn't. I mean, and that's not just software development. It's practically anything I've ever been part of, because people, well, on average, I found to they usually are able to stand most things as long as they have these basic things in place. And luckily enough, there's quite a few of those people in IT. The difficult part is for you as someone who is either trying to get into an environment like that or someone who's trying to create it, to actually get those circumstances. When you do get something like that, it's actually very great. You will be surprised at how effective a team can be if they have the right composition. And I found that the easiest way to build this sort of environment is to, well, first and foremost, you have to have someone in a position of semi-leadership, or like a team lead or an engineering manager or someone like that, who sort of understands this fundamental truth, that is what most people are looking for. Because when you make that happen, and it's actually not that difficult to make it happen if you know how. It's almost impossible to do it if you don't, on the other hand, which is probably that's the catch-22, because most people don't know how to run an IT company or even an IT team effectively. And those who do know it, well, there's not enough of those people to go around, and they usually are, let's just say that it's hard for like employers and so forth to find these people and even evaluate if they're going to be a good fit, because you're sort of guessing who's going to be a good leader within your company and so forth and so forth. So there's all this, well, it's hard for you to find an employer who appreciates and understands the difference between good enough results and truly extraordinary results, and the difference that that can make if you have it. I've worked with many teams now where, I've worked with teams where nobody really gave a shit, and as you can imagine, the proportionate output was not great. There's a lot of money going into this thing, and it's sort of working, but it's never really up to, nobody's really happy with the results. And then I've worked with teams where all these things were in place, and they could weather any storm. Like, it didn't matter what problem you gave them, no matter how shitty the circumstances, they always pulled through, and they were happy, productive. Everybody has complaints, of course, but overall they could achieve most things, because the thing that really kills the happiness of a software developer at work is when you feel underappreciated, you feel like you're always working with shitty code or shitty solutions, or people who don't really give anything. Like, your entire situation is your entire environment is just filled up with people who sort of show you that the worst situation. Like, they show you how little they care and how little it matters what you do. It's almost pointless, or like it's you have external dependencies. People don't give a shit about what you need, or like they might not even reply when you email them or things like that. You can't get anything done because you need other people to sort of care about what they do. And you're never being heard, things like that. All of these sorts of things are the things that kill the productivity of a software development team, and the happiness goes with it. And then the only people who stay in that sort of environment are the people, as I said, who really don't care at all, as long as there's a paycheck at the end of it. Because it's like they are not emotionally attached to anything that is happening. And such a person, making them happy is actually very simple. Or rather, to not make them sad, you just have to pay them. To make them happy, well, you could fix all the things that I just talked about. That's going to make them happy. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter, because you've already got a problem that is too severe to fix, most likely. So what I want you to take away from this is that keeping software developers happy at work is usually fairly simple. If we just ignore the obvious things, that you need to pay them something that they feel they are worth, or so that they feel happy with their salary, of course. But the main things are always going to be, number one, make sure that they are working in an environment where they feel like they can make meaningful contributions. Make sure that, number two, they are working on something that they feel is in some way interesting to deal with, an interesting problem, interesting system, interesting something where they feel like this is something that sort of evolves them, they feel fulfilled working on it. And then last and thirdly, make sure that they are doing all this work with people who are interested in doing a good job. Make sure that they are working with sort of like-minded people, sort of people who have a little bit, as I say, fire in their eyes and actually wants to do good work. If you have all these things in place, I've never found an unhappy software developer. At least I've never seen one, because these are usually the main factors, in my experience at the very least, that makes up someone's personal mood at work. And this is not just software development. I've found this to be true in practically every type of team that does any type of thing together. Have a great day.